It's known as the ultimate driving machine. BMW. Here at its $2 billion manufacturing facility in Spartanburg, South Carolina, the German automaker crafts its premium X3, X5, and X6 SUV series. The cars may run on premium, but the factory runs on trash.
So things that you would throw away in your garbage can, that material is the fuel source for the BMW plant.
Zane Ferris is the director of operations at the Palmetto landfill, a facility owned and operated by Waste Management, the leader in the U.S. garbage game. As trash decomposes, it produces methane gas, which is captured in a series of wells that extract gas from trash buried deep in the ground. Methane's coming up through this. How can you tell if it's working?
Well, actually, you can hear the sound. You listen closely, and then you also have these sample ports where you can actually feel the vacuum.
The wells are connected to underground pipes that run to a production facility. There, what's known as landfill natural gas is filtered, cleaned, and pressurized. A small amount of the cleaned gas is flared, released into the air as a safety precaution. And the rest travels through nearly 10 miles of pipeline down the road to BMW.
Well, I must tell you, when we first heard the idea and proposed it, everybody looked at us like we're a little goofy. Let's stick a pipe in the ground 9.5 miles and pull the gas out of, back then people used terms like the dump. It was a stretch.
Bobby Hitt was part of the original talks to bring trash gas to BMW. The move saves the car company $7 million a year.
One of the great things in an environmental project like this is when you can have a double-double, as I call it. You win on the environment and you win on the balance sheet.
It's just one example of how garbage has found a second life. Today, trash is reborn as a source of energy, a high-priced commodity. Even raw material that is turned into clothing and carpets. All this takes trash out of the waste stream and puts it into the revenue stream.
Understanding how do we take that waste and turn it into a valuable resource.
David Steiner is Waste Management's CEO. Even though the word waste is branded all over their properties, Steiner sees it as anything but.
We decided to take a look at the materials that we collect every day. And we saw that if we could separate them, we could sell the waste that we pick up every day for about $10 billion. Now, we're about a $13 billion company, so that's almost double our revenue. That's when we realized there's value in this material.
You even use the word materials, probably more often than you use the word waste, right?
Well, if it's waste, it doesn't have value, right? And so we want to take it and create value.
In the last 10 years, Waste Management has expanded its energy portfolio. In 2009, they poured millions into Terrebonne, a Texas-based startup that is turning organics, yard waste, and discarded food into high-octane gasoline for cars. Waste Management is also heavily invested in waste-to-energy plants. Garbage is hauled in and dumped, then moved from the tipping floor by giant claw into furnaces. There it is burned, creating steam that is captured into electricity. This process, Waste Management believes, will play a key part in solving China's garbage crisis. In 2010, they bought a piece of a Shanghai company that plans to build waste-to-energy plants throughout the country. Steiner would like to produce power and profits at every turn.
Just to put it in perspective, the energy that we've created using waste over the last 30 years has saved 150 million barrels of oil. That's what it's all about. It's about looking at a business model that is good for the environment, but still makes us more money.
One of the biggest moneymakers in the waste game is recycling, an opportunity to recover, then resell items from the trash that might otherwise go to a landfill. About 80% of what we throw away as a nation is recyclable. Cardboard, paper, glass, and plastic. but only 28% actually gets recycled. And that's a growing problem for landfills and for companies that rely on those materials to make money.
It's hard to believe that a plastic bottle that we could be possibly drinking water out of is the same raw material source that goes into making a t-shirt, but it is.
Dave Rowell is the Executive Vice President of Sales for Foss Manufacturing, a New Hampshire company that turns plastic bottles into everything from carpets to clothing. By the time those bottles make their way to Foss, they've been chopped into pieces smaller than a dime.
This is polyester flake. Comes from water bottles.
10 bottles equals 1 pound of flake. 1 pound of flake costs 50 cents.
And this container of flake holds 2,000 pounds or 20,000 bottles.
20,000 bottles of water
Right.
are in here,
That's
chopped
right.
up.
And if all this flake was spun into polyester fiber and made into, let's say, a t-shirt, it would make up approximately 500 t-shirts.
And then it reconstitutes as a fiber.
Yeah, we pump that melted plastic through what's called a spinneret, which is a block plate that has very minute holes drilled in it. And we then pump the molten plastic through those holes, and it comes out as individual filaments that are the size of my hair.
How many bottles do we go through every year?
51 billion bottles a year are consumed in the United States alone. Only 22% of those are recycled.
1 out of 5.
1 out of 5 are recycled. And it pains me to tell you that about 70% of all the raw materials we use for our Eco-5 polyester, 70% of those recycled bottles are coming from countries like Canada, Argentina, Chile, Mexico, and other places not in the United States.
Visit a recycling center and you'd think there's plenty of plastic available. This waste management run facility in Newark, New Jersey takes in 15,000 tons of recyclables a month, making money by taking them in and making money again selling them across the world. The majority of the paper and cardboard is shipped off to China and India to be turned into product packaging. Aluminum cans head to beer giant Anheuser-Busch to be made into new containers. And plastic bottles are sold to companies like Foss.
So this is the carpet that goes into some of the big box stores, and they're used for seasonal rugs.
That's mind-boggling. I mean, you look at the size of this thing, and you say to yourself, how many bottles that would have been in a landfill somewhere?
I would estimate that this roll right now probably weighs 450 to 500 pounds, so there's 5,000 individual drinking bottles right there just in this one roll.
How far along are we, do you think, in thinking of ideas that these bottles can be turned into? Have we thought of most of it, or is there a lot still to go?
I would say that probably only 5% of all fabrics are made out of post-consumer recycled resins. And there's no reason it can't be 100%. What we really need